Well, another big story today, a U.S. military drone was brought down after a Russian fighter jet struck its propeller in what the Pentagon is calling a violation of international law. It happened earlier today in international airspace over the Black Sea. The Pentagon says the drone was conducting routine operations when it was intercepted.
It's clear that it was unsafe, unprofessional, and I think the actions speak for themselves. What we saw, again, were fighter aircraft dumping fuel in front of this UAV and then getting so close to the aircraft that it actually damaged the propeller on the MQ-9.
All right, let's bring in Bryan Clark, Senior Fellow and Director at the Hudson Institute and expert in naval operations. Bryan, thank you for your time. This understandably has so many people concerned, and Moscow is blaming the U.S., claims this drone was intruding in an off-limits area, even though it was international airspace. Is Russia laying the foundation for a false flag operation here, trying to accuse the U.S. of provoking Russia?
Yeah, Nichole, this is generally the Russian technique, is to argue that those that are taking responsible action in international airspace or international waters are the ones that actually provoke Russian aggression. They did the same thing to Ukraine. They argued that Ukraine's actions to promote democracy were in fact a provocation, and that required Russian action to invade Ukraine illegally. So the same tactic is being used here.
So what happens now? I mean, is this a race to the bottom of the Black Sea between the U.S. and Russia, even though Russia is now claiming that it's already retrieved parts of this drone?
Russia may have retrieved parts of it. I think most of the technology on these drones has been made to be less sensitive because these drones are doing mostly electronic surveillance and maybe some electro-optical or visual surveillance. So the operations they're doing are not necessarily using the most sensitive equipment, with the anticipation they could be lost over this kind of space where Russia can retrieve them. So the U.S. is already sort of prepared for this contingency. But I do think you're going to see more accidents of this kind, or more interactions of this kind, as the war continues and as the U.S. tries to gain the kinds of intelligence that the Ukrainians need to be effective in the war.
Well, Bryan, we know that right now there are meetings happening in the State Department, in the Pentagon. What kind of response are you expecting from the U.S. in not only the coming days, but as we look forward in the coming weeks?
Well, probably not much of a response. The U.S. has lost several drones over the last decade. Several MQ-9s have been shot down in Syria. A MQ-4, a much larger and more expensive unmanned aircraft, was lost over the Persian Gulf due to Iranian air defenses. So the U.S. has generally not taken any sort of retaliatory action against countries that have attacked these drones. And that's partly because the purpose of these drones is to allow for a less escalatory option for being able to do a show of force or to surveil your adversaries. But the U.S. is likely to make some diplomatic responses and maybe some rhetorical responses to Russia to argue that this action was illegal and irresponsible.
Well, you say there's likely to not be retaliatory action by the U.S., but what kind of recourse does the U.S. have, given that this was in international airspace, correct?
Correct. So the U.S. could, take action against Russian drones that are operating in international airspace, which some do. The Russians don't have nearly the same portfolio of long-range unmanned aircraft like the U.S. does, but they could take a similar action as sort of a tit-for-tat response. It's just unlikely they could do so. The Russians don't really have the kind of systems that would make for an easy exchange of platforms. And the Russians also are behaving in a way that, you don't want to sort of give in to their argument that it's a U.S. provocation that caused this in the first place.
Bryan, last question for you. This is coming just a day after the U.S. approved this nuclear submarine sale to Australia. You obviously know that angered China. China is Russia's biggest ally. China even saying that deal was a typical Cold War mentality. Are we in the midst of a new Cold War here?
Yeah, arguably arguably with Russia and China, but China being obviously the most prominent of those two adversaries. So clearly we're in a long-term, more intense competition that's taking much more of a militant overtone. So, the competition has turned from being more of a peacetime economic and diplomatic competition with some security aspects to now being a more overtly military competition. So it is arguably much more like a new Cold War.
Last question now, really, Bryan. How worried are you after what happened today?
No, I'm not worried. So I think this is reflective of how Russia has operated in general over the last 30 years.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.